Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about and doing a comparison of 5 different brands, and I will write down the name as we go, but I just kind of wanted to compare, for those of you who are new to watercolor, I wanted to compare high-end, really high-dollar watercolor paints and brands to a more affordable but still high-grade artist quality. So I'm going to do a whole series of comparing white nights. This is St. Petersburg white nights, and the price of this is like $50, and you get 36 colors. I've taken out the white and I just added a different color, so that doesn't usually come with it. So I want to compare some of these colors to some high end. So here's one of my palettes that I have, and this is all Holbein. And then I have a whole set of Daniel Smith, but for today's purposes I just pulled out my Ultramarine Blue, because that's the color I'm going to start with. This is my Sennelier, and this is the most expensive one I have, which is Schmincke. So I'm going to compare all of these colors, some of the main colors for you, starting with Ultramarine Blue. So we'll get started. So the first one I'll do is this is Daniel Smith Ultramarine Blue. And from what I know, this is just the regular Ultramarine Blue, as far as I know. Okay, next we're going to pull Sennelier. I really think it's important to do this so people can see that you don't have to get the most expensive paints. The reason people would, I mean, in watercolor it does matter, I think, more than in acrylics. I'm not really that familiar with oils, so I wouldn't really know for that. So that's Daniel Smith Sennelier. Next I'll do Holbein. In watercolor, the reason that you would get different paints is because they all behave differently when they interact with water. So some, like Holbein, are one of my favorites. If I had to pick a higher end favorite brand, it would be Holbein. And that is only simply because it it does not flow as much in water when you lay it down. And I will do a little test at the end too, so everybody can see that. This is Schmincke. This is a German brand, German company. That is Ultramarine Finest. They also have a French Ultramarine and just a regular Ultramarine Blue. And I do have the Ultramarine Blue and the Ultramarine Finest, and to be honest, I don't really see much of a difference. So, okay. I'm gonna start writing down some of this so that we are not forgetting what each one is. That's Schmincke. This was Holbein. This was Sennelier. Sennelier is a French brand. And this one is Daniel Smith. Forgive my handwriting, I'm trying to write very awkwardly. Okay. And of course, the last one I have to compare it with are my white nights. And it's right here. I want to clean the palette a little bit though. And as you can see, this going down, I mean, this laid down beautifully. It's wonderfully pigmented, just like the other ones. Okay, So that is just, this is just the swatches to show you. So again, I'll point them out. We have White Knights, Schmincke, Holbein, Sennelier, and Daniel Smith. And Schmincke is probably the most expensive. For a full pan, I believe I paid about $7, and I got that on Jackson's Art, and it's in the UK. And they have excellent shipping. They ship fairly quickly. I mean, you have to wait a couple weeks, but I've never paid over like maybe $2 for shipping. And even if I'm just ordering a couple colors, that's just a really great price. Holbein is probably going to be the cheapest out of all of these, but I have noticed that Holbein, I don't know if it's because they're becoming more popular, but they have sort of picked up in price, and I would say I paid about $7 or $8 for a tube, and I will look up all this at the end. Sennelier is up there with Schmincke in price. So, for instance, for this set here, this cost me, minus these right here, this cost me about $80. Now, this would have been double if I would have bought this on Amazon just in the US. This would probably be about $160. But I paid $80 for this, and that's just because Jackson's has it in the UK for a lot lower price. I'm not really sure why. This, all of these colors, this is the Billy Showl set. I added this one. This is their cobalt teal, but this cost me also about $80. But these came in tubes, and you just squirt them out yourself. This is also pretty darn expensive, but I might even say this, well, this has more colors, but I mean, they're tubes, they're 10 milliliter tubes. This I would round anywhere from like $7 to $9 a tube. So I've just collected these over time, and these are all Holbein in here. So I cannot do the math for you right now. Hopefully I can add it in when I'm editing the video. But yeah, so this is also, it's costly to get it started, but I think if you're going to choose between something like this and something like this can be more expensive, around $100 to $200 starting out if you were to get all of your colors up front. But it's more cost effective because this will last you a really, really long time. I mean, these can last you years because it's a 15 milliliter tube, and you just keep squirting it out into your pan. Whereas this is a full pan, and this also can last you a very long time. It really just depends. I have noticed that Schmincke re-wets very, I mean, you can see I've only had this a few weeks, and it already has little divots in the wells or in the pans. So I have a feeling Schmincke, I'm going to go through Schmincke a lot quicker. And like I said before, this you can get on Amazon for about $50. And as hopefully I'm about to show you, I personally love it just as much as any of my other ones. So these are drying a little bit more. I'm just going to show you a little more zoomed in. Now you can see, again, we have White Knights, Schmincke, Holbein, Sennelier, and Daniel Smith. And they're all granulating pretty well. Holbein, I'm noticing, has a slightly different color from the rest. It's got more red in it, I would say. Daniel Smith is known for its granulation. That's why people really seem to gravitate towards Daniel Smith. I personally, other than getting a few of their colors like Moon Glow and some other ones, I feel like Daniel Smith is a little overpriced, because in order it would be like, these are the most expensive, this is the most expensive in the US, this is less expensive, and of course this is the very very least expensive. Sennelier. Sennelier was definitely the hardest to get as dark as the rest. I had to work at it the most. You'll see if I just do one little swipe of all the brands. Let me try that. So if we're just going off of first swipe, the Daniel Smith is definitely the... Let me try that one more time because this one was not as juicy. Okay, there we go. If I just go off of one swipe, oops, sorry, again, I didn't get it juicy enough. Here's Holbein. And then we have Schmincke. And then last we have White Nights. So I would actually say these two were the hardest to get to lay down, this being the most juicy, which is very interesting because this is the less expensive one. And guys, you can go to Jackson's, it's Jackson's Art, like .uk maybe, .com, I don't remember, I'll look it up. And a full pan of this is going to run you about $1 to $2 depending. So you can get your set, and this is what I did. And then there's some colors in here that I'm not very fond of. And so for $2, I have to wait a little bit to have it sent to me, but I can, I ordered about 6 extra pans that I'm going to switch out some of these colors. And for 6, I think I paid the same amount for 6 of those pans as I did for one Schmincke that I have coming, which was about $9. It's their cobalt teal that I ordered. So, I mean, that just shows you they're so inexpensive and they're really quite beautiful if you look at that granulation. This one's definitely the most different in color. I would say these are much more typical ultramarine that I'm used to. It's not, this one's much warmer. So anyways, that's got some interesting texture going on. I don't know if you can see that. I'm gonna bring it closer. Definitely has interesting texture. Now I'm gonna show you how they react in water, and I'm going to write this out. Okay, so the next test that this determines which paint I'm gonna use in any given painting. Now my water is a little bit discolored because I have the ultramarine kind of floating around in it, but that's okay. Hopefully it just makes it show up better on the paper. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a wet patch. And I'm going to show you how this flows. So you can start by going like this, and you can see it shooting across the paper. Daniel Smith is definitely known for, and I'm going to do dots. It's known, it does activate. So some paints have oxgall, which is an agent, it's a wetting agent, but it also makes the paint flow across the paper, as you can see it happening. Some people like that, other people don't like it. There are paints like Holbein, and I'll get there, that do not have oxgall. They think it should be the artist's choice whether they're going to put oxgall in their paint. Okay, this is Sennelier. So I am seeing it doesn't flow quite as much. So I kind of lean towards preferring something like this, where it flows a little bit, but it doesn't shoot across the paper. Now this is really fun for abstract kind of art, and so if you like abstract art, then you will definitely want to go with Daniel Smith. Sennelier seems to be, from my opinion, it looks like maybe somewhere in the middle, where it's going to flow a little bit, but it doesn't shoot across the paper. Because if you're trying to do detailed work and very controlled work, it can be quite frustrating to have the paint shooting across the paper. Okay, so next we have Holbein. Now, Holbein should not move very much. Yeah, it's hardly moving. So you can see that Holbein, this is probably why it's my favorite, is especially like very quickly the water started to seep into the paper down here. And you can see that it stopped moving as much. And you can see this moved more, this moved the most. But you can see as soon as the paper starts to, or the water starts to soak into the paper at all, it stops. It still blends enough so you can create really beautiful blends, but it doesn't shoot across the paper. This is why I prefer Holbein. I would say probably the most out of all my paints. Okay, next we're going to move on to Schmincke. Schmincke is my newest set of watercolors, so forgive me because I really don't know much about them yet. Okay, so that's, you want to get it pretty, you see the brushes, the hair is falling out, don't mind that. You just wait for it to dry. Okay, Schmincke is definitely more like Daniel Smith. Flows quite a bit. It's very pretty though. It is really fun to watch watercolor flow into water. Sorry if my camera is wiggling around. I think Schmincke moves more than Sennelier does even. Okay. Next is White Nights. That is quite a bit. That's even more than White Nights. Oh, okay, and then as soon as the paper starts to set in, it starts to slow down. Oh, that's interesting. So if it's very wet, it acts more like Daniel Smith, but as soon as that water starts to set in, it starts to be more controlled. Interesting. Well, that's really pretty. I liked the way that flowed the most because it seemed to capture a lot of the pigment here and then release some. So it has this gradated effect where this kind of just went everywhere. Does that make sense? So that's very interesting. Okay. All right, so you can see how everything acts so different in watercolor too. You can see now why people either really love or hate Daniel Smith. You can see how much that granulation shows. Holbein has a much softer effect. Sennelier, I would say Sennelier is the most in between of like really flowy. Like these three are all super flowy, which is really beautiful. I mean, that's not to say that you don't want that sometimes, especially when you're making first layers. That can be really, really pretty. Whereas Holbein does not have oxgall in it, so it's going to sit where you put it, which can make it easier to control for beginners. You know what, guys? How did I forget? I forgot I have one more. Are you surprised that I have more paint that I forgot about? I'm not. Okay. I forgot I also have M-Gram. M-Gram remained for a very long time one of my favorites. I'm going to put it right here. And I'll put an MG for M-Gram. Okay, so hopefully you remember what that means. Okay, this is my M-Gram set. Yes, I know, I have too much paint. What's this one? M-Gram is made with butter, just like Sennelier is. Sorry, not butter. It feels like butter going down. It's made with honey, just like Sennelier is, which just means that it's super, super easy to re-wet. So you can see the swatch there. I'm going to do just one swatch like I did for the rest. You can see that's up there with White Nights. M-Gram is just really known for being really intense. I would even say, because it pulls up so much pigment when you're dipping into the colors, even sometimes the most opaque, which I personally had a hard time painting with this at first and getting it to look like the soft watercolor effects because it pulls up so much pigment. Okay, and M-Gram, from what I remember, it pretty much whooshes across the paper as well. Again, that's so up to you about whether you like that, but if you're new to watercolor and you've got paint and you're having a very hard time controlling it, and a lot of people don't know, I'm going to do more little classes of just how to, yeah, I would definitely say M-Gram is the most whooshy of them all. But look at those gorgeous effects. They almost look like fireworks. Yeah, okay. Anyways, I hope this helps. I hope that, let me see, let me dry everything really quick. All right, I'm back. So here is everything dry. Again, I will just show you. There's a fly in here and I cannot get it. So I just want to show you again up close all of the different paints. Again, we have Daniel Smith, Sennelier, Holbein, Schmincke, White Nights, and M-Gram. And these two pulled definitely the most pigment with just one wash. But here you can see that they're pretty equal. I should have pulled more from there, but you can see the beautiful effects that happen. This one seems the smoothest, White Nights. The smoothest wash, just meaning less granulation. So White Nights is pretty smooth. Schmincke is known for being smooth, and I would say Sennelier. Those three are the smoothest, with Daniel Smith, in my opinion, being the most granulating, as well as Holbein here. And then we have, here's the flow charts. I would say M-Gram flowed the very most, followed by White Nights and Daniel Smith. Schmincke, Sennelier flowed. I really liked Sennelier. Feels like a good in-between from just this test. Felt like such a good in-between of Holbein, which flowed very little, as you can see, compared to these, but still had a flow. Like when I laid down the line up here, it still kind of like flowed down. So again, I hope this test shows you that these all look, in my opinion, very similar. I mean, there's little differences in like the fact that Holbein flows less and Holbein has a slightly different color, but when you get everything down on paper, I mean, White Nights to me looks just as beautiful, just as flowy, just as granulating as any of these. So I hope that shows you guys, again, that you can totally get affordable paint. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg. $50 will get you 36 colors. And honestly, guys, those full pan sets, this can last you years. I have bought and given this to so many people because I just love this set so much. I think it's inexpensive. I think the colors are vibrant and beautiful. I mean, you can see all of the colors here. This quinacridone rose is just, it's gorgeous. And we'll get to another episode where I compare the quinacridone roses between all the companies. So I hope that helps you to see what you might personally want to get if you're looking into getting some watercolors. I do hope this was helpful, and I will see you guys next time.